fucking get what's his name. Hey Google, play Mozart.
Playing Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart on Pandora.
Hey Google, play that. Nah, never mind. Hey, could thank you. Oh boy, I got a great class lined up for you today. Heidi decided to come out of her hiding spot. She's gonna freak out when the class starts. Almost there. It's okay, Heidi. Heidi, ho! She's scared as fuck. It's okay, Heidi. Why are you so scared? You're so scared. You're scared of the kitten. Hey Google, play that Mr.G shit.
Sure.
Hey Google.
Asking Pandora.
Pause.
Mr.G, 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 he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr.G, 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 he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Americano writer, got no education. I met him while streaming on a Hawaiian vacation. Unworn white Levi's were covering his femur until he covered them with coffee and creamer. Mr.G, 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 he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr.G, 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 he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer.
Whoa.
Mr.G, 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 he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr.G, 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 he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr.G, 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 Mr.G,
Hi, I'm Mr. G. Welcome to my class. Today we have a great class.
Mermaid. Sit. Aloha.
Aloha, Mrs. J. How is everybody today? Pod in the classroom is acting as a
medical hospital for poor little Mosey, who had some severe burns on her. So, we're dealing with a little bit. I can show you. Moses is in the corner because she knows the class is about to start. Normally, that's her bed area.
Live Moses.
The expensive Pokemon cat carrier is like her hospital bed. You see, she's under the desk over there right now. She's in the corner over there. She knows the class is starting. But then I have her 2 litter boxes. And then the pads all around, because she misses this way for some reason. And then Heidi is hiding. Hey Heidi, say hi to the class. It's okay, don't be mean. Fuck them. Heidi's not a very social kitty. It's okay, Heidi.
Zeract_the_human said, looks like a pokeball, LOL.
Yeah, where you wear it on your back and it expands. I'll get you guys a little close up. It is really nice, and I would definitely recommend it. It's probably one of the more expensive cat thing carriers on Amazon, but you just fold it like this, and you wear it on your back like a backpack. And I like to wear it in the front because that way I can see, Mosey. But she likes it so much, it's been used as her own personal bed. It has a replaceable mat in there in case, there's any bathroom action and you want to take it out and clean it. So it's good. It's very high quality. Very much recommended. Okay. It's okay, Heidi. Don't worry. We're going to learn all about Maryland. Okay, continuing. We have new lighting. I don't know if it's better than the lighting from last week. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend as well. Today is Tuesday. I took Monday off and Friday off. So I took 4 days. I took 2 days off.
Visit Mr. G's website, https://gxnetwork.live.
I do see there's a glare on our map here. And, I think it's, 3-point lighting. I don't know. It still looks good despite the glare.
You can send Mr. G, Moses, and Keanu packages to 1170 New Wanu Avenue, Po Box.
Okay, but today we're going to be learning about the great state of Maryland. And Maryland, this is the Maryland flag right here. It's actually the oldest flag in the United States.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mrs. J. Like I said, I've been really busy with it, everything. And Mrs. J was kind enough to put my website. If you want to know more about your teacher here, you can check out my website, which is basically a resume. It's on the screen right here. Mrs. J put a link. It's gxnetwork.live. All right, continuing with today's lesson, we have a really great lesson. It's all about the state of Maryland. It's a state that I've never been to. It's one of the smallest states in the United States. It has only 100 miles from its southern point to its northern point. And so that's not 100 miles isn't very long. However, it has 4,000 miles, 4,500 miles actually, of beach, because it's right on the Atlantic Ocean, and there's Chesapeake Bay. Chesapeake Bay is actually known to have seen sharks as well. It's one of the few places that sharks have been spotted outside of the ocean.
Stream elements.
We're not doing politics today, and I need to go ahead and hide this. You're not going to see this anymore, guys. This was just a meme. I don't mess with the red hats or anything. So that's going in the. That's done. It's the year 2021. Okay. The powers that be are the powers that be. All right. So now I got that out of there. So once again, the Maryland flag, the ones you see right here, it's based off of Lord Baltimore, who was one of the founders of Maryland back in the 1700s. Maryland was actually the 7th state. It's one of the original 13 colonies, so its admittance to the Union was, the 4th of July, 1776, along with 13 other states. The rest of the states that we're going over this week, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia, also one of the 13 colonies. So for the rest of this week, in Georgia on Monday, Georgia, yes, surprisingly, was one of the 13 colonies. So for the next 4 classes, all through this week and on Monday, we're going to be covering states that were original of 13 colonies.
Why did you pretend to be a Trump supporter? That's gross.
I didn't. I just slightly preferred him over the other guy, okay? And I didn't vote for either of them, actually. I voted Libertarian. So, like I said, I never was for him. I spent 4 years trashing him, okay? You can check my tweets.
It's not about politics today anyway, but...
You can check my tweets. I supported Andrew Yang and Bernie Sanders for a good portion. It wasn't until it came out to the end when I didn't want to see somebody of that low personal character as BID, and my own opinion, I wouldn't trust him around kids, and I wouldn't trust him with the government's money or the nuclear codes, and I think he was bought out from China, and I think his son is extremely corrupt. And look, we're not going in there. I don't know how that actually just happened. We're not talking about that. What we're talking about today is Maryland, which reminds me, shout out to everybody watching this on YouTube, on my second YouTube channel. I know there's not many people watching the replay on the YouTube, or if you're watching this video long after this live stream here, this broadcast of the state of Maryland. Maybe you're from Maryland. If that's the case, maybe you've been to Maryland. Maybe I will, though. It's not far from Washington, D.C. Baltimore, Maryland is only about 30 miles from Washington, D.C. Okay, continuing. Like I said, how these classes work is I'll stand here at the beginning of the class and I'll talk about the states briefly.
One of the few states I have not been to.
Okay. I'll talk about the state briefly, and then we'll do a brief slideshow about some of the state's favorite foods, some of the famous people from the state, some of the famous landmarks in the state, before we wrap everything up. In the future we'll do like a Q&A with phone calls, but right now I'm just wrapping it up with a slideshow and playing the state anthem, which the Maryland state anthem is actually a huge rant against Abraham Lincoln, written by a Confederate soldier. True story. It was written around the Civil War, and it was written by somebody from Maryland. John Wilkes Booth is actually from Maryland. The man who assassinated Abraham Lincoln is from Maryland. I don't have his picture on the board here. But I do have Edgar Allan Poe, one of the most famous people from Maryland. And I'll give you guys a question. Mrs. J will probably know the answer. Looking for my pointer. There it is. There's one of my pointers. So right here we have Edgar Allan Poe. He's one of the most famous writers in the United States, and he actually is the only writer in the world that has a professional sports team named after a piece of literature or something that he wrote. Now, does anybody know what the name of that poem or book or whatever is? It was named, I'll give you a clue. The piece of work, it's a poem. A poem that Edgar Allan Poe wrote is named after a professional NFL football franchise that plays my favorite NFL football franchise, the Buffalo Bills, this weekend. Okay, Mrs. J, I know you know the answer.
_the_human said, I thought Edgar Allan Poe was British for some reason.
Okay, that's not the answer I expected. Alright, the answer is the Ravens. Edgar Allan Poe is most famous for the poem, quote, The Raven.
You mean the Raven?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. J. Kids today. Okay, so one of the most popular NFL football teams, the Baltimore Ravens, considering they're a pretty young team. Hey, look at that! We got ding dings. Woohoo! Woohoo! All right, thank you for that. Follow. I guess I'm not jumping up there for follows, okay? But if you subscribe, I'll jump up there and ring my bell. All right, what were we talking about? The Ravens. The Ravens play the Bills in Buffalo on Saturday. Previously, the football team, like I said, the Ravens are a very popular football team. The team that they had before was also very popular, the Baltimore Colts.
And Keanu packages to 1170 New Wanu Avenue, Po Box 3.
And the Baltimore Colts actually have a big rivalry. Well, excuse me. The Baltimore Colts, one day, they were a beloved football team in the city of Baltimore. And one day, the owner, just without any warning, he woke up and he went and moved the team to Indianapolis, Indiana. And he didn't give anybody any warning, and it was the biggest surprise because they were a hugely successful franchise. They went on to Indianapolis to continue to be successful, but there's been a bitter rivalry with the people of Baltimore and the people of Indianapolis because of this reason. So if you're ever going to watch a football game, Indianapolis at Baltimore is a very good, heartfelt game where the people in Baltimore, a lot of the elderly seniors in Baltimore still remember the Baltimore Colts. But that reminds me, Baltimore... I am going to go over crime statistics. Baltimore, Maryland, it's not the capital. Indianapolis is. Baltimore, Maryland is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. I won't ever go there. The population of Baltimore is only 600,000, but there's hundreds of murders every year. Hundreds, 600, 700, hundreds of murders. To put that in perspective, you know I'm all about objectivity and statistics, and a good comparative is here in Hawaii. This island that I'm on in Hawaii has about 1 million people, and every year there's about 1 or 2 murders. There's about 1 million people on this island of Oahu, and in Honolulu, Hawaii, and there's 1 or 2 murders. Okay, there's 600,000 people in the city of Baltimore, and there's 600 murders a year. Sorry, I'm never going there. Nope, never. My life is worth too much. You know why? Because that's the scariest thing. Is the murder. Somebody taking somebody else's life without permission, you know? It's sad, and I don't want to talk about it too much, but one thing recently is the elderly people have been victims in Baltimore. Baltimore has a high elderly population.
Why is Maryland called Maryland?
Maryland is called Maryland because it was founded by the King of France. And one of his mistresses was named Maria, and she went by the name Mary. And so she was really upset that the King of France didn't leave his wife. So he's like, come on, I'll name this new colony for you. And she's like, okay. Well, I think that's how it happened. I wasn't there, but I imagine. So it's named after King Edward from France's mistress, to answer that question. Okay, and the thing about the crime,
Help Mr.G with
look, it needs to be talked about. I tweeted about it a few weeks ago, months ago, before this class. Okay, there is a problem in Baltimore with...
Interesting.
I told you the statistics on how it's violent crime. It has one of the highest violent crime rates.
Did you have a hangover?
It has one of the most violent crime rates in the United States. In the world, actually. The United States is one of the most violent places in the world. So that's the flag. Some of you have seen the show The Wire on HBO. I just put up the thing. This is all based in Baltimore. But I'm going to talk about Baltimore a little bit more. And I will show, I'll show the Ravens logo for a second. I will show the statistics of murders. Like I said, there's hundreds of murders in Baltimore every year. It only has a population of 600,000. The population of Honolulu County is about 1 million. Okay? There's 1 or 2 murders every year. All right? That just puts things in perspective. Hundreds of murders with a much less population versus 1 or 2 murders. So it's just not like double the murders. Like if there was 20 murders there a year, you'd be like, whoa, there's only like 2 murders a year in Hawaii. Oh, well, there's 20 in Baltimore, so there's 10 times as much. No, guys. There's 2 murders a year in Honolulu with 1 million people, but there's 600 murders a year in Baltimore with 600,000 people. So it's not twice as many, it's not 10 times as many. It's 600, it's hundreds of times more, okay? And like, it does get me upset because, you don't hear about this in the news.
Maybe those murders were justifiable homicide.
There's no such thing.
Mermaid said, most of it is targeted murders, gangs.
Not necessarily, Mrs. J. One thing that's been recently in the past 5 years is elderly people. There's a high elderly population in Baltimore. Those people that like the Baltimore Colts are being attacked by groups of young teens, and they're being stabbed because the teens don't have guns, apparently, and also the amount of murders have gone up with the amount of stops and searches. Since the police incident with, I think it was Freddie Gray, they weren't allowed, now they're not allowed to search or do a lot of other things, and the crime and guns have just gone off the charts. And in the last 5 years, like I said, there's been dozens of elderly stabbing victims.
Mr. G, I know you're old, but you're not elderly yet.
Okay, but I care about that. But that's frightening. I read about somebody today, she was 84, and then she's stabbed to death by a 16-year-old kid for $20. Like, you live to be that long and then that happens? Look, if you just don't take my word for it, okay? Don't. Go to Google, type in stabbing, elderly, Baltimore. Hey, guess what? Boom, 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 boom. How many different ones you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Dozens of elderly people have been stabbed to death by groups of teens and other people just sleeping in their homes, sitting in a park for minuscule amounts of money for an umbrella. They live to be 85 years old, and then a bunch of kids come up and stab them to death for their umbrella. And that's what's happening in Baltimore. So yeah, I'm never going to go there. Not even close. Never going to go to the mainland. Hey, don't take my word for it. Just Google murder Baltimore elderly person. Stabbing Baltimore elderly person. You'll see dozens of Google entries. All that's objectivity. Objective evidence. How many people live in Baltimore? 600,000. How many murders a year they got? About 600. Oh, really? How many people live in Honolulu County? Oh, about 1 million. How many murders a year you got? About 5, the most. Okay, what? Something wrong with those stats?
Don't be rude about the whole mainland.
I'm sorry, Mrs. J.
Everyone should travel our nation.
Okay, well, I was talking about that. So, since the Freddie Gray murder, which you can see right there, in blue you have the arrests on the board, and in red you have the murders. So if you see, there's a huge spike in the amount of arrests. The arrests have gone down,
and frankly, I don't blame him.
And the amount of murders have gone up.
_ human said. Amen. MRSJ from sea to shining sea.
So this is the murder statistics since 1980. 1980 in
You can
Baltimore.
Mr.G, Moses, and Keanu packages to 1170 Nuuanu Avenue, PO Box 37305, Honolulu, Hawaii 968.
So as you can see, in the last few years, things have gone up immensely into like the hundreds. It's always been high, 200, 300, 400. Since 1980, 200 murders per year.
Here, PodChamp, check it out. https://mercage.s3elements.com/mr.
And also, Baltimore was one of the cities hardest hit by the economic crisis. This is the last 4 years of the unemployment data. The nation's unemployment data is in blue, and Baltimore's unemployment data is in red. So as you can see, in March of 2020, there was a huge drop, and numerous people lost their jobs in Baltimore. Okay, so now that we're going and starting on the state bird of Baltimore.
Lots of butterflies in Maryland, or is that Texas?
Excuse me, the state bird of Maryland is the oriole. I'm not sure if there's lots of butterflies in Maryland, but I do know there is lots of Orioles. And we were talking about Lord Baltimore, and the reason Lord Baltimore, the reason the state bird of Maryland is the Oriole, is because it is the colors of Lord Baltimore's crest. And Lord Baltimore, whoever the heck he was, he is very well known in there, and so even on the state seal and the state flag, which we showed earlier, it's the oldest state flag in the United States. It is based on Lord Baltimore's seal. So these colors are also supposed to be, similar to that of the raven. So.
MRSG Mermaid said, Orioles are cool.
Yeah. The state flower of Maryland is called the black-eyed Susan.
_human.
And it's not a sunflower.
MRG don't say his name referred to high as he who shan't be named. Countryman.
Black-eyed Susan is the state flower. Hey, countryman, welcome to class.
Always trip me out, LOL.
Welcome to class, countryman.
MRSG Mermaid said, hi there, countryman.
So I told you the Maryland state flag is the oldest flag in the entire country. Here it is right here. And it dates back to the 1700s. Hey, countryman, did you know Maryland was the 7th state? And one of the original 13 colonies, it achieved statehood on 4th of July, 1776. Did you know that, countryman? This is the oldest state that we've dealt with so far. Some fun facts. The story behind the name.
I did know it was an original 13.
Yeah, it is.
Not the 7th, that's old.
Yeah, it was the 7th.
Underscore scissor underscore bottom said, well, for real.
So somebody asked about the name, where they got the name Maryland. And I said it was the mistress of King Charles. But apparently it was his wife. From what this slide says, Henrietta, Maria. But her name was Maria, I got that part right.
Underscore scissor underscore bottom said, 7 is JR's lucky number.
So, some fun facts about Maryland. Tobacco was considered currency at one time.
For a long, long time.
The colony's nickname was the Act of Toleration.
MRSG Mermaid said, you were pretty much right.
Yeah, pretty much. So this is interesting. On the state seal of Maryland, I think this is interesting right now. So if you see on the bottom of where those guys are, it's the oldest state seal in the United States. And at the bottom in Latin, it says Fati Maschii Paroli Feminini. And what that means in direct translation is manly deeds, womanly words. Now, in the past generation, they've come under scrutiny of saying that's sexist, and saying that they need to change the oldest seal of any state in the United States. So instead of actually changing the flag and changing the seal, instead now they just translate it differently to strong deeds, gentle words. However, that's not actually what it says. What it says is manly deeds, womanly words. But if you ask, Google here, it'll tell you that it says strong deeds, gentle words.
The new merch is here, PogChamp, check it out. https://merch.s3elements.com/mrg_live.
So, some fun facts about Maryland. One of the oldest published newspapers is the Maryland Gazette. Also, one of the oldest newspapers is the Baltimore Sun. The Maryland Gazette, that dated back in the 1700s. The Baltimore Sun started in 1837.
Butterfly.
Yes. Oh, the Baltimore state insect is the butterfly, right, Mrs. J? Also, the Baltimore Sun, that was a newspaper that I sold that I was very good at selling back in Texas when I worked for that job. I bring it up a lot. I brought it up in Kentucky. I brought it up in in New Mexico. I brought it up in a few different states. But the Baltimore Sun, that was a newspaper that I sold.
_scissor_bottom Said,
And the Baltimore Sun
hey, look, a butterfly. I like butterflies. They're so adorable.
is one of the most influential influential newspapers in the United States. Okay, so continuing with some fun facts about Baltimore. The United States Naval Academy is located in Baltimore.
To me, Maryland has one of the most.
Excuse me, Maryland. Yes, exactly, Maryland. I keep saying Baltimore, Maryland. The United States Naval Academy, that's in Annapolis, Maryland. Also, the United States Federal Naval Museum is also in Annapolis. Annapolis is the capital, and that's where the Naval Academy is. It was actually once the United States capital.
Country man.
And
I wouldn't have thought so.
Yeah. Annapolis is the capital of Maryland, but it was also the federal capital of the United States at one time. We mentioned Francis Scott Key. He was from Maryland, and he wrote the Star-Spangled Banner when he was seeing the bombs land in Baltimore. And that's where he came up with the idea for that song. Baltimore as well was once the capital of the United States. I said Annapolis was the capital in 1783 to 1784 for just 2 years, and Baltimore was the capital for a couple years as well. The National Aquarium is located in Baltimore, and they have the second largest East Coast seaport of anywhere in the United States.
7305 Honolulu, Hawaii 96823. Countryman said, like New Jersey, it has all four mountains, barrier islands, forests, and beaches.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into cake. We're gonna get into
Did you know the
food.
western panhandle of Maryland is actually mountains?
Yeah, and then they have 4,000 miles of beach. The western line actually is the Mason-Dixon line. It makes the border between Pennsylvania and Maryland.
Said,
Here, I'll go ahead and change
well,
the.
really all packed in that tiny state.
Yeah, let me. While we're talking about that, I'll go ahead. Awesome. Hey guys. So yeah, they were talking about the western border of Maryland. The eastern border is like the Atlantic Ocean and Chesapeake Bay. It has a lot of waterways. It's known for its waterways, and that's why there's a lot of seafood there. One of the top foods, blue crab, the best crab that you'll find in the United States is in Maryland. But what we were talking about, the western border with Pennsylvania, is the start of the Mason-Dixon line. And that's the line that determined whether a state was a slave state or a free state. Like when you continue going west, south of the Mason-Dixon line, slavery was okay, and north of the Mason-Dixon line, it wasn't. So when you go out west, if you can see on the map there, Kentucky, a slave state, but north of Kentucky, Ohio, a free state.
Is that a C tattoo on your face?
No, it's a G, but it is. I'm having it removed, so I have my third laser surgery coming up with that.
With
So.
underscore scissor underscore bottom. Said,
Please don't comment on the teacher's face tattoos. Rule number 1.
MRSJ mermaid.
Rule number 1, no comments on the instructor's face tattoos.
Geography like California, except CA has deserts too. A lot bigger than Maryland though.
Yeah.
Countryman said, yeah, another interesting fact about the Mason-Dixon line, Mr.G.
What's
line
that?
Actually went across the Delaware Bay into New Jersey, and New Jersey actually used it even during the Civil War, meaning because of that line, New Jersey had slavery till the very end of the Civil War, and was one of only 1 or 2 Union states that had slavery during the war.
Interesting.
Extreme elements.
Frederick Douglass is on the board here. He's from Maryland. He was the first former slave to write an autobiography. You can see him on the board right here.
Edwin underscore scissor underscore bottom said, "'Cause it's me, your old pal."
So we have Edgar Allan Poe at the top. We talked about him. The Edgar Allan Poe Museum is in Baltimore. I'll show you a picture of that. Edgar Allan Poe lived in Baltimore in the 1830s, before the Civil War, and Edgar Allan Poe actually owned a slave and sold a slave for $40.
Can we do some esoteric lessons one day?
Possibly. Right now we're learning about Maryland. So right here we have Edgar Allan Poe. And like I said, he was from Maryland. He was actually in Maryland at the same time that Frederick Douglass was a slave in Maryland. And like I said, Frederick Douglass, I want to talk about him for a second. Frederick Douglass was
I enjoy listening to readings of Poe's work on Halloween.
Well, we're actually going to read I'm going to read The Raven in a bit at the end of class here.
Maryland is quite ghetto place.
Okay, guys, you gotta,
help Mr.G with a donation through Stream.
So, Frederick Douglass here, the first African-American former slave to write an autobiography. The way that he escaped slavery is really interesting. He was from Maryland, and he was from a part of Maryland that had a lot of, I stick to geography, I prefer nonfiction, okay? Alright, so Frederick Douglass here, the way that he escaped slavery was he was sent on some jobs in the Baltimore harbor.
This is like a real school lesson, they should pay you for these.
Okay, yeah. Well, if you love doing something enough, you'll do it for free. So, right now I really enjoy talking about Frederick Douglass. So Frederick Douglass is a self-made man. The way that he escaped slavery was he had jobs on the Baltimore harbor. I'm going to have to turn down the TTS.
I've watched some videos on solipsism. Interesting premise, LOL.
So, he had some jobs on the Baltimore harbor, and that's where he learned, the way different people spoke, free people, non-slave people, and that's where he learned about where to go if he was ever to escape, and that was his key to the outside world. When he worked in the harbor, he worked alongside free men. He worked alongside immigrants, and he worked alongside just normal Baltimore people. And so that was how he learned how to get to New Jersey and how to get to New York. So pretty interesting. So what Frederick Douglass did was he escaped slavery, and then he rode the train from Baltimore to Philadelphia. And if I remember in his autobiography, he said it was the scariest train ride he'd ever done. But once he made it to Philadelphia, he felt he felt like he could fit in and he could survive. Then he shortly went to New York after that, and he was an advocate against slavery, a great orator, and he would speak in Central Park, where Central Park is located. He would speak to crowds in New York City, and it was a really he was the first self-made African American in the United States. Maybe Google knows something about them. Hey Google, Volume 10. Hey Google,
Mr.G, are you done being all cross with me by the way?
Tell me about Frederick Douglass.
According to Wikipedia, Frederick Douglass was an American social reformer, abolitionist, orator, writer, and statesman. After escaping from slavery in Maryland, he became a national leader of the abolitionist movement in Massachusetts and New York, becoming famous for his oratory and incisive anti-slavery writings.
Hey Google, tell me about Frederick Douglass escaping from slavery.
According to Google Books, Frederick Douglass was an African-American social reformer, abolitionist, orator, writer, and statesman. ...
Hey Google, how did Frederick Douglass escape slavery?
Here's a summary from the website constitutioncenter.org. Frederick Douglass escaped from slavery on September 3, 1838, aided by a disguise and job skills he had learned while forced to work in Baltimore's shipyards.
See?
Once Douglass made the harrowing train trip to Philadelphia, he was able to move on to New York City.
So, Frederick Douglass, like I said, he used a disguise.
Shipyard worker.
Yeah, he was a shipyard worker, and he used a disguise in order to fool the train people and not recognize him as a slave. And that was in the 1830s. That was the exact same year that Edgar Allan Poe lived in Baltimore. And Edgar Allan Poe actually sold a slave in the 1830s, a 21-year-old girl for $40. Edgar Allan Poe died drunk in a ditch, owing people money, high on cocaine. True story. I know I went from Frederick Douglass to Edgar Allan Poe, but during this time in 1830s, Frederick Douglass was like, fuck, man, I'm going to escape, man. Fuck slavery. I'm going to New York. I'm going to fucking make a disguise and escape. And Edgar Allan Poe is, let's smoke some crack. I'm high in a ditch. I'm high in a ditch on crack. They could have ran into each other. The year that Frederick Douglass escaped slavery was the same year that Edgar Allan Poe was listed as selling a slave for $40. So they could have been in the same circle, have known the same people. The population was very small back then. Most people knew each other and stuff like that. So here's a bigger picture of Frederick Douglass here. Alright, so I have a new Instagram made just for the class here. It's on the screen right here, Mr. G's Instagram.
Edwin _Scissor_.
We'll continue the
said
presentation.
Man, way to kill my perception of Edgar Allan Poe. Never knew he had slaves.
Yeah, I researched that before the class because I wanted to know. Well, I knew that Frederick Douglass, and him were both from Baltimore, but I was curious if they lived there at the same site. Like I said, Maryland was a slave state. They were a border state to the north, but the Mason-Dixon line makes them a southern state.
Said Poe didn't have a very glamorous life.
No, he did not.
Countryman said, nor did he have a very long one.
Yeah, life is hard and sad, and it's, sometimes it's like, what's the point of even laughing or teaching or doing anything? But you just make the best of it, so you never know even what's going to happen. Edgar Allan Poe, like I said, he's the only writer ever to have somebody, ever have a sports franchise named after him, right?
MR-G.
So, continuing with the lesson about Maryland. We've talked about Edgar Allan Poe and Frederick Douglass, the two people that are on the board right here.
I appreciate that Mr.G life is short. Glad to be here right now.
Yeah, I'm glad all of you are here too. I don't ever look to see, how many people are watching or whatever, but thank you. The class participation has been really good today. So I appreciate that. And if you want to subscribe, you get to use those awesome emojis of Mr. G, Moses, and Keanu. I really enjoy doing this, and if you enjoy doing something enough, you do it for free. If you're good at doing something enough, you can charge people for it. And if you provide a service, and a service that is in demand, people will pay you for it.
Was written from the perspective of his slave who he suspected of wanting to kill him.
I just asked Jordan Peterson. So that's another reason. Like, yes, I'm not making money from this that much right now. But I do enjoy doing this. And this is much better than 90% of the shit on Twitch, right? That's fucking facts. Hey. Woo! Alright, show love. Woo! Mrs. J, thank you. Woohoo! So I made some money there. Thank you very much, Mrs. J. So, but once again, it's not about money. It's about teaching. And this class is going really well. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment, especially if you're from Maryland. Oh, awesome. Woo! More. Party one. Party one, party one, party one. Woohoo! Thank you so much.
The new merch is here.
Okay,
check it out.
So we're going to go over some foods of Maryland. We're not going to go over inventions. The Ouija board was invented there, but we're not going to do inventions today. We're going to go over foods and some famous people in Maryland. Some of the industries in Maryland, United States security, government, federal contracts, education is big there. Like I said, the United States military and United States security is big in the city of Maryland. I mean, the state of Maryland. The biggest cities in Maryland, there isn't many. There's Baltimore and there's Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is not considered part of Maryland. However, the land that Washington, D.C. sits on was donated by the state of Maryland. So Washington, D.C. is not part of Maryland. There's people in the Democratic Party that want to make Washington, D.C. their own state. That's for political reasons, because the majority of Washington, D.C. it's 90% Democratic. But once again, it was part of Maryland. Now it's not. The population of Washington, D.C. is almost that of Baltimore. It's 600,000. The population of Indianapolis is like 50,000. It's small. Indianapolis, it's the capital. It's a very well-known city because of the Naval Academy. But the only neighborhoods in Indianapolis, from what I've read my whole life, are really wealthy areas. It's one of the wealthiest parts of the United States. That's why there's very few people there. So we're going to continue with the slideshow about food and famous people. We went over the flag, we went over some history, we went over Frederick Douglass. I think that was really interesting how he made a disguise, to escape slavery. I wrote a paper about Frederick Douglass for a college course at the University of Texas, and I've always been a fan of his. And then at the end of the class, like I said, we're going to read about, I'll read the poem, The Raven. Once again, we talked about the Mason-Dixon line. I think that's important. That's on the Pennsylvania-Maryland border. Also, Delaware is right there, too. And it wasn't a big deal until slavery, like I said, being that close to free states and slave states, the South
When
and the North.
underscore scissor underscore bottom.
All right, continuing with the slideshow.
What's a Dixon line?
We went over that just 10 minutes ago. If you weren't paying attention, I'm sorry. So look at your neighbor's notes. Okay, continuing. I think we'll do a few more fun facts about Maryland before we get into food. So it's a really small state, only 12,000 people. There's 12,000 square miles. 5 million people.
Hyde's notes.
State symbols. We went over the flower, the bird, the fish is the striped bass. The terrapin at the University of Maryland, they're known as the Terrapins or the Terps. And that's a huge school. The University of Maryland, it has almost 50,000 students. The University of Maryland, it's one of the largest schools in the United States. It definitely is.
Edwin underscore scissor underscore bottom said, "Damn, I'm gonna fail the test and end up in military school now."
They're going to send your ass to Indianapolis.
Said.
So a couple more fun facts. It's hold a big acorn. This acorn-shaped gazebo can be found in Acorn Park. America's first umbrella. That was funny, I mentioned the umbrella, right?
LOL.
1828. The state sport of Maryland is jousting, a competition between two armored contestants mounted on horses in which each tries to strike the other with a lance. The sport has been enjoyed in Maryland for 300 years. Sounds pretty brutal if you ask me. I'm sure a lot of people get injured in that sport. So that's the Terp, the Maryland Terps.
From jesting, LOL.
But I guess they're saying it's turtle. But the Maryland Terps, I don't know why it says turtle. Well, a terrapin is a form of turtle. So I guess that's it. But they're the Terps because they're terrapins. They're not turtles. Okay, one more fun facts. People who come from Maryland are called Marylanders.
Check it out. HTTPS.
Maryland has several nicknames: the Old Line State, the Free State, the Cockeyed State, the Monumental State, the Oyster State, and the Queen State.
Terrapin is like the water turtle. It also has endangered species. I've seen one before.
Oh, okay, interesting. I've never seen one. I've seen turtles here in Hawaii, but not. I've seen saltwater turtles. I do know the Old Line State. It's called the Old Line State because George Washington actually gave Maryland that nickname. During the Revolutionary War, the colony of Maryland was able to fight off on the front line better than any of the other colonies. The citizens, the Army of Maryland, was known as the most fiercest, strongest army the colonists had. So that's actually where they get the name, the Old Line State, believe it or not. Okay, I know those were all really great fun facts, but I'm getting hungry here. So let's look at some of Maryland's favorite foods. This is called Cody's right here. Coddy roll.
All of those nicknames sound like sexual innuendos.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough about that. So a Coddy roll, it's got like a fish flavoring on the outside, and I don't know too much about it, but it's I guess I've had them before. You get them at seafood restaurants a lot, and it looks pretty good. It's made of a little bit of crab. You'll see on these slides that the majority of foods in Maryland are seafood, and that's understandable because, like I said, they have over 4,000 miles of coastline. So, also, don't forget, I want to talk about the story of Azatiga Island. The ponies on Azatiga Island. So if I don't remember, let me make sure to remember that. But continuing with the foods, this is Maryland pit beef. I can't say that I've had this before, but I have heard about this. I know that it's usually served rare or medium rare. Let's see if Google knows anything about this. Hey Google, what is Maryland pit beef?
On the website dizzypigbbq.com, they say, Maryland pit beef is round roast cooked over charcoal, with a crunchy, slightly charred exterior, and cooked to no more than medium rare.
Okay, well, like I said, medium rare, it's rare beef. Okay, next up the list we have Maryland
On the
raw.
website medium.com, they say,
Hey Google,
steak doesn't contain...
Shut up. Next on the list we have rockfish.
I couldn't eat anything under
Sorry,
medium.
I don't understand.
Hey Google, what is rockfish?
Here's a summary from Wikipedia. The Pacific Ocean perch, also known as the Pacific rockfish, rosefish, red bream or red perch, has a wide distribution in the North Pacific from southern California around the Pacific Rim to northern Honshu, Japan, including the Bering Sea.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Google. Next up we have the invention of caramel creams. And cowtails actually came from Maryland, from the Baltimore Chewing Gum Company. They were just making gum, and then they invented these caramels, and it just went off the charts. Next up, we have Smith Island cake. This is their state dessert, and it's like a 10-layer cake. I think you have to at least have 8 layers to make it an official Smith Island cake. Maybe Google knows. Hey Google, what is Smith Island cake?
According to Wikipedia, Smith Island is an island on the Chesapeake Bay, on the border of Maryland and Virginia territorial waters in the United States. The island is the last inhabited offshore Maryland island, where most of the islands are eroding because of sea level rise.
Okay, hey Google, what is Smith Island cake?
According to Wikipedia, Smith Island is an island on the Chesapeake Bay,
hey
on
Google.
the border of Maryland and Virginia territorial waters in the United States.
Hey Google, be quiet Google. Shut up Google. Okay, apparently Google doesn't know what Smith Island cake is, but this is my website right here. If you're wondering about my background and my education and everything of my resume, you can check it out on the website on the screen at gxnetwork.live. Continuing with the presentation on this delicious food. Next up we have snowballs.
People joke about it like it won't happen.
Hey Google, what is a Maryland snowball?
Is by 2030 they're getting effed up.
On the website preservationmaryland.org, they say, unlike the crushed ice snow cone, the Baltimore snowball typically consists of finely shaved ice. Once the ice is packed into the cup, it can be covered with a flavored syrup. Some makers even add a dollop of marshmallow before adding the cone on top, or just drizzle the marshmallow over the top.
Wow, they got marshmallow? That's genius. So this is snowballs, and sometimes they drizzle marshmallows. Delicious. This is something else that you'll find in Maryland. It's Fisher's popcorn. These Fisher's popcorn is known as the best caramel corn. I've had this. You can order this. It's one of the most popular caramel corns. Fisher's popcorn. I know, everybody else there raw each other like it's the manly thing.
sea barrier.
So,
and Elon Musk
anybody ever had this? This is the lemon stick.
contain and save the city.
This is simple yet genius, right?
Said, do you still stream with ice?
I don't know who that is. So this is a lemon stick. It's
Do you
simple
still
and
stream
genius.
with ice?
I don't know who that is. This is a lemon stick. It's simple yet easy. It's a lemon cut in half with a thick peppermint stick in it. You suck on the peppermint stick and it slowly tastes like lemon. Let's see if Google knows about it. Hey Google, what's a lemon stick?
iPod. Said,
According to Wikipedia, lemon sticks are a type of stick candy. They are similar to candy canes and peppermint sticks except lemon oil and acid
Okay,
are
hey,
used as a
Google.
flavoring.
Hey, Google. Shut up, Google.
Edwin _scissor_bottom. Said, Mr.G never streamed with that dirtbag.
Okay, so next up we have Old Bay seasoning. Old Bay seasoning, it's a famous kind of seasoning and it's good on eggs, seafood, biscuits. It has all different ingredients, but some of them are secret ingredients. Let's see if Google knows about it. Hey
I
Google,
love Old Bay.
what is Old Bay seasoning?
Here's a summary from Wikipedia. Old Bay seasoning is a blend of herbs and spices that is marketed in the United States by McCormick and Company and originally created in Baltimore, Maryland. The seasoning mix includes celery salt, black pepper, crushed red pepper flakes, and paprika.
Paprika is how it's pronounced, Google. Okay, continuing on. This is a popular dish that you'll find in Maryland is lake trout, except it's not actually trout and it's not from a lake. It's in the Chesapeake Bay and it's bottom dweller fish. I forget what it's called, but it's not trout and it's not from a lake. Hey Google, what is Maryland lake trout?
On the website BaltimoreSun.com, they say, lake trout is probably Maryland's most popular alias. The fish draws long lines at the Roost and a handful of other Maryland eateries that sell it. But this lake trout never swam in a lake, nor it is a trout.
So, continuing on, this is the most famous food in Maryland is known for, steamed blue crab. Has anybody ever had steamed blue crab? Well, steamed blue crab is what they're known for. It's not blue after you cook it. But the Maryland crab is the best. But I think 80% of the crab that you buy that says Maryland crab, it's not Maryland crab. So they do many things. Crab cakes are delicious. Crab cakes are like, they're like honey with THC. They're like crab, compacted. There's like 10 crabs in each crab cake, basically. If you're eating a real crab cake. Okay, continuing. If you're ever in Maryland, you want to try the Maryland crab soup. Maryland crab soup. And it looks like it's got a little tomato in there too, you know what I mean? Now, this right here, this is called a natty beer. Yes, a natty beer. It's National Bohemian Beer. It's available in Maryland, and it's called Natty. But where I'm from, in Texas, Natty were natural light beers.
One crab dish is too much crab dishes.
But apparently in Maryland, something else.
Yes.
So this is a popular kind of chips in Maryland. You can also get this a lot of places. These are Hers crab chips. Crab chips.
I love Natty Bohemian.
But they don't have any crab in them. I looked this up. Instead, they just have the flavoring that they usually put on top of the crab. They usually have a certain crab flavoring that's sprinkled onto the crab, and they use the exact same flavoring on these chips. And so they remind people of crabs, but there's no crab in them. So if you're a vegetarian and you don't eat fish, try some of those. Next up is we have stuffed ham. Stuffed ham is popular in Maryland. It's ham made like a turkey with the things that you would normally stuff a turkey with. It looks pretty good. I think I'll try stuffed ham one of these holidays. I know Mrs. J, you made a good ham, right? Next up, we have Maryland beaten biscuits. I'm not really sure what these are, but these biscuits do indeed look beaten. Let's see if Google knows. Hey Google, what are Maryland beaten biscuits?
On the website commonsenseeasternshore.org, they say, made from a simple recipe of flour, salt, sugar, lard, and cold water or milk, the resulting biscuits typically have a firm crust and tender inside. Later recipes incorporated a pinch of baking powder and/or cream of tartar as those became available. The dough is mixed by hand, never by machine.
Interesting. Continuing on, last and certainly not least, what Maryland is really known for as far as food is the burger cookie. Now, the burger cookie, I have had this before. These are delicious. Now, you can get these at other places, but they're everywhere in Maryland, and they're a cake-like thick cookie covered in fudge, dipped in fudge icing, so it's actually more fudge icing than cookie. And these are really delicious. You can only eat a couple of them because they're so good. And I really enjoy them a lot. Yes, indeed. That looks very good. Okay, so those are all the foods of Maryland. I hope you enjoy that. That's definitely making me hungry. Actually, I'm going to take a couple bites of this Chinese food over here. So next up, we're going to do famous people from Maryland. But after all that food, I am going to have a couple bites of yesterday's Chinese food. I'm also going to be doing a gaming stream on Twitch later this evening too. And if you're watching on YouTube right now, don't be a hater. Give me a thumbs up. Write a nice comment. And give me some energy here with some broccoli and some kale. And then we're going to finish up with famous people from Maryland, famous landmarks in Maryland. And then we're basically going to wrap it up. I'll tell a story about Assateague Island. Okay. Oh, thank you. Now, continuing, we're going to be doing real quickly here, famous people from Maryland. And I picked everybody that you should know. These are all famous people that are very well known. Not no D-list people. So first up, Michael Hit the Bong Phelps is born and raised in Maryland. Who else is from Maryland, Mr. G? Well, the one and only quiet assassin, Kevin Durant, who I actually went to school with at the University of Texas. He's from Maryland.
LOL.
Who else is from Maryland? Well, Baby Ruth is from Maryland. The candy bar? No, the baseball player. He once scored 300 touchdowns in one game.
Said. Wow. Stream Elements.
Who else is from Maryland?
Said. The new merchant.
This guy, William H. Macy. He's creepy, but in a nice sort of way.
streamelements.com/mrg_live.
Who else is from Maryland?
Countryman.
Montel.
The bubble gum.
You know somebody's famous if they only have one name. Montel is from Maryland. Who else is from Maryland? Charles, Rudy's janitor, Dutton. Also known as The Rock.
Oh Lord, the guy's face is creepy.
Hell yeah, he is, but in a nice kind of way, right? I mean, I don't think he's a bad guy, but he's fucking creepy, right? Now, who else is from Maryland? Will Smith's husband is from Maryland. Jada Pinkett Smith. Husband to Will Smith.
Countryman. Said. LOL.
Who else is from Maryland, Mr. G? Anna the slut. Anna Faris. Anna Faris is from Maryland. You know her from all the scary, crappy movies. Scary movie. Who else is from Maryland, Mr. J? The Hoff. Big penis Hoff. You know he's got a big penis. Look at him. He's like me, kind of. You know? You can just tell we have large penises.
Edwin _ bottom.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
Said. Him and the creepy guy from the Adam Sandler movies should do a buddy cop movie.
Who else is from Maryland? Well, speaking of creepy people, dun 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 dun, the spokesperson for Botox and the woman that's in control of the United States of America, Nancy Pelosi. Here in this corner, Nancy Pelosi. And in the other corner, Donald J. Never mind. Continuing on. What a beautiful woman she is. Wow. I think she's great. I do not want to say anything bad about her. I like her and everything they stand for. I support anything they do and any laws they make. I will not think on my own. I will obey. What's gonna? Okay. Once again, we talked about Frederick Douglass is from Maryland, and of course the wonderful Edgar Allan Mother Effin Poe is from Maryland. Okay, kind of wrapping things up. So we'll go straight to landmarks. One of the most visited graves in the United States is the grave of Edgar Allan Poe. Why? I don't know. People like to go there. This is Edgar Allan Poe Museum. It's also his former residence, located in Baltimore, Maryland. We got time for a couple more landmarks here. Then I'm probably going to have to wrap things up so I can get ready for a couple different things. This is Washington Monument State Park. This isn't Washington Monument, but it's Washington Monument State Park. Hey Google, what is Washington Monument State Park?
According to Wikipedia, Washington Monument State Park is a public recreation area located approximately 1 mile southeast of Boonesboro, Maryland. The park preserves the Washington Monument, a 40-foot tall tower honoring George Washington, the first president of the United States.
Okay, so that was back when their monuments kind of sucked, I guess. Next up, we have Fort McHenry. Hey Google, what is Fort McHenry? Star Spangled Banner.
According to Wikipedia, Fort McHenry is a historical American coastal pentagonal bastion fort on Locust Point, now a neighborhood of Baltimore, Maryland. It is best known for its role in the War of 1812, when it successfully defended Baltimore Harbor from an attack by the British Navy from the Chesapeake Bay on September 13 to 14, 1814.
Okay, what Google did not mention is it's also the spot of where Francis Scott Key wrote the national anthem, watching the bombs hit Baltimore Harbor during the War of 1812. That's where the Star Spangled Banner was written. The state song of Maryland. So the Star Spangled Banner was written during the War of 1812 by Francis Scott Key, about the bombs hitting Baltimore Harbor, of the screenshot I just showed you of the cannon.
MRSG Mermaid.
What was I talking about?
Said.
Oh yeah, but the state song of Maryland, that was written about 20, 30 years later, before the Civil War, right during the Civil War, and it was an anthem, a Civil War anthem about how much they hated President Lincoln. So usually I end the class by playing the state song of a particular state, but their state song is like pretty racist and shit. So I'm not going to play the state song of Maryland because it's all about how they hate Lincoln. And I mentioned John Wilkes Booth was from Maryland. He was the man that actually assassinated Abraham Lincoln.
Yikes.
Continuing with the presentation, this is the Maryland State House in Annapolis. I told you Annapolis is the capital of Maryland, but it was also capital of the United States at one point, and they preserved this state house from the 1700s. It's one of the oldest state houses in the United States. Like I said, Maryland is one of the oldest cities. This is one of the most famous bridges in the United States. It's located in Maryland. It goes over the Chesapeake Bay, and it's a very, very large, noticeable bridge. All right, I think that is it as far as the flyers. As far as the
that bridge is a terror.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to drive on it, right? I went ahead and put it up there. But yeah, I mean, that bridge. I don't plan on going to Maryland.
Thanks, Mr. G, for another great lesson and teaching.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Mrs. J.
Said, there's actually a company that you can hire to drive you across it. That's how well known it is.
Interesting. So yeah, I hope you guys learned a little bit on today's presentation about Maryland. Once again, check out the new Instagram. It's going to be just for this class. I'm going to put post updates on there. That's on the screen right now. And also pictures from the class. The other Instagram, I'll try to keep all my cats and personal life. But this one that you see will be just for the class. And also, if you want to know more about your teacher here, then go ahead and check out the website right there on the screen too. Now, like I said, I normally end the class with the playing of the state song. However, the state song is a little bit racist, and it's anti-Lincoln, so I don't think it's really the time for that. So instead, we're going to play the Star Spangled Banner, which was written in the state of Maryland.
Countryman said, there have been multiple petitions to demolish that bridge too. To completely destroy it and make it into a bridge tunnel instead wider lanes.
Thank you, Countryman. Thank you guys for coming to class today, Mrs. J, Countryman, and all the new viewers today. Thank you for the new followers. I'm looking forward to continuing with each state after this, and also.
I love talking about this stuff.
Yes, me too, Countryman. Tomorrow we got a wonderful presentation about South Carolina, and then on Thursday, North Carolina, on Friday, Virginia, and we're going to continue until we cover all 50 states. If you would like to watch more of these states and you're watching this on YouTube, there's a playlist of all the states that we've covered so far. I think we have about 30 more states to go. Once we finish each state, we're going to move on to each country. So we have plenty of material to cover Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Hawaii time. If you're on the West Coast, that's 2 o'clock. And if you're on the East Coast, then that's 5 o'clock. If you're in the middle of the country, it's 3 or 4 o'clock live on Twitch. And also, if you missed the live broadcast, you can catch it out on YouTube later. All right. Thanks, everybody. And I'm going to end with some pictures from the wonderful state of Maryland. Once again tomorrow, stay tuned for South Carolina.
Check it out. https://merch.streamelements.com/mrg_live. Edwin_scissor_bottom said, check y'all later, smiley face.
Check you later.
MRSJ Mermaid said, Mrglib Gene, Mrglib Moses, Mrglib Keanu.
Thank you, Mrs. J. You're number one. Aloha.